Hey history students, Mr. Birch here, and today we're going to be going over some test practice questions. Our topic for the day is expansion of the plantation system and slavery, actually. So, as always, when you see the question, press pause, take a moment to read and answer, then press play and we'll go over it together. Let's get started. All right, so let's look at this thoroughly, as we should with all questions that have an image of some sort. Let's make sure we read what the title of that image is and give it at least a quick look before we even begin. It says the cotton gin, and then we see a picture here. And below that it says, how did this invention contribute to the expansion of plantation system? All right, so first of all, the first answer says by reducing the number of slaves needed for growing cotton. And then G, by increasing the time needed to cultivate cotton. H, by increasing the profitability of slavery. And J, by reducing the demand for raw cotton. All right, what is the question asking? Well, here it's asking, how did this invention, which I have an arrow pointing there to the specific invention, but the honest truth is here, you may not know what the invention's talking about like I do in here looking at this. Even if you don't, what's the title of this? The title says the cotton gin. So now we know what the invention is, the cotton gin. We don't even need a picture for it, but the picture may help us. So it says, how did this invention, the cotton gin, contribute to the expansion of the plantation system? So if we know anything about the plantation system, we know that there's a lot of slaves used in the early American history in the plantation system. So the bigger the plantation, well, you should be able to figure that out. What can I eliminate here? So looking at these answer choices, I think the first one we can eliminate is by reducing the number of slaves needed to grow cotton. Well, this is talking about the expansion of the plantation system, and we know that slavery was a booming industry, so to speak, or a booming business all the way through colonialism until the time of the Civil War. So it really wouldn't make sense that this would limit the growth of or limit the amount of slaves needed for the cotton industry. And then what else? By reducing the demand for raw cotton. Why would a product helping produce more cotton limit people wanting cotton? That just doesn't make sense either. So let's see. What do I have to know in order to be successful in this question? Well, Eli Whitney patented the cotton gin in 1794. Before, it took one slave a day to produce just 1 pound of cotton. So one slave could produce 1 pound of cotton. After Eli's machine was invented, one slave could produce 50 pounds per day. So 50 times the production value. More slaves were now needed to harvest more cotton because we could produce more, so that we needed more slaves in order to produce more cotton, or that was the thought anyway. So that leads us to the answer that says, by increasing the profitability of slaves. Well, before, when one slave could produce 1 pound, now one slave could produce 50 pounds. It just becomes logical that the profitability of the slaves now was greatly increased. Well, let's look a little bit into the history of what's going on here. Slavery and the cotton gin. On the left, you see an image that's roughly an early model of what the Eli Whitney's cotton gin would have been. And then on the right, you kind of see an image of how it actually works. Okay, Eli Whitney himself said, talking about his invention, one man and a horse could do the work of 50 men with the old machines. So he's kind of talking about how his machine can do the work of 50 men compared to how it used to be able to work before his machine. So let's read here. Cotton began to be seen as a great cash crop near the end of the 18th century. We know that the 18th century is the 1700s. Because it didn't rot or have a short shelf life like many food crops. The problem was that cotton had nasty little seeds that had to be hand-picked out before it could be made into cloth. The gin, short for engine, was a drum with little hooks that could pull the cotton fabric through a strainer that wouldn't allow the little seeds to pass through, thus separating the cotton from the cotton seeds. This fast-paced machine caused farmers to make huge profits and want more slaves to harvest more cotton. And well, you can see kind of how this process repeats itself. The cotton gin caused farmers to be able to produce more cotton, which you wanted more slaves and more land to harvest more cotton because you could produce more, and then you could make more money, which would cause you to get more land and more slaves, and it was kind of a nasty process here, a cycle. Well, that's it for today. Thanks, guys.